New patch! New patch! 7.25. Here we go, baby. I'm gonna be doing my best to make this as short as possible and as easy to understand and kind of like, what do these changes actually mean? I don't just want to read the patch notes. I want to try to really explain, like, what are the implications of the changes? So yeah, this is gonna be like the spark notes. Now, I know the video is probably gonna be 20 or 25 minutes anyway. I guess we'll see at the end. But that's my prediction. So I guess we'll see. But like and subscribe to help our channel grow. You guys know the spiel, please. Click the like button, it helps me out. I've said it like 8 million times now, but it's true. So yeah, let's get into the patch. All right, so I know you guys have a lot of extra time and toilet paper on your hands right now, just like I do. The reason why I'm saying this is the gameleap website is 50% off in the link down below. It's legitimately 50% off. The code is Binge Dota. I'm making a lot of cool content over on the main website, so please click the link. It supports me and obviously gameleap as a whole. So yeah, click the link, 50% off for a very limited time, and hopefully I'll see you there. All right, so the first thing I have to cover is this all pick changes. Very, very cool stuff here. I'm honestly fascinated by it. I read it, I like it, and yeah, let's get into it. So all picking is now 5 rounds, and basically you blind pick. So each team picks a hero, one person at a time, and then it's random. You can't see. At a certain timer, it reveals both of the heroes, and so it makes it really hard to counterpick. Kind of weird though, because it can make it very RNG. Very, very RNG. Also, I want to bring up the scenario where, let's say your team has 4 strength melee heroes, and you know that the enemy mid laner wants to last pick Timbersaw. Well, now, does that mean you have to instant lock Timbersaw because of the last line? The player who picked second, if they pick the same hero, right? So if you pick the same hero as the other person at random, the person who picks second doesn't get it, and they have some time to select another hero, right? So then, does that mean I have to insta-lock Timber as fast as possible? It's kind of like, there's gonna be some mind games here and some really weird counter-picking and like insta-picking, and I'm a bit nervous about the system for a couple of those reasons, but personally, I'm always up to change. Like, I know a lot of people are anti-change. I'm up for change. I think this is a cool change. And yeah, I'm curious to see how it plays out. And then the second line is the coolest one to me. I'm personally a fan of this. I know hero spammers are not, or meta pickers are not. I've always been a proponent of like picking cool stuff and making Dota weird and really opening up the game to all of the weird heroes that, or less meta heroes that are not being picked. But essentially, there is banning now in all pick. Previously, half of the voted heroes would get banned, right? So if 10 heroes were selected, half got banned. If 2 were selected, 1 got banned. Now, each ban has a 50% chance of succeeding, so 10 heroes could theoretically get banned, which is a lot. That's a lot. And not only that, the most important part to this is, most of the time people would get lazy and not ban. I would usually see like 3 to 4 bans on average. Now, if only 3 to 4 heroes get banned, the system, right, Dota, just picks 10, or it fills in the rest, right? It fills in the rest, and they get rolled, and it's based upon the ban rate. So essentially, meta heroes are going to get banned, which is very cool. I personally like it. I know a lot of people are going to be skeptics of this. I like it because I'm a fan of the idea of just having to have a small hero pool, or being open to changes, but it's definitely weird because I also recommend hero spamming, so I'm curious to see how this plays out. Power runes initially spawn at 4 minutes now, and subsequent spawns are every still 2 minutes. So essentially, this is a really cool change that nerfs the minute 2 DDs, the minute 2 regen runes, minute 2 illusion runes that could be used to just dominate the landing stage. So really, really cool. Power runes now spawn at 4 minutes first, and yeah, I think that's smart. Also, power runes no longer spawn on both sides of the map at 40 minutes. This nerfs the team that is ahead, because when you were ahead at the 40-minute mark, you would control both of the runes, get an arcane, a DD, like all these super power runes for the late game, and it would be a big deal. Remove the team. Okay, guys, this is where things get confusing. I'm honestly just gonna tell you, go watch Purge's video if you want to understand what this means. I'm not gonna read it. I personally don't understand. This is the type of thing where I could go over and spend the time to really understand it, but is understanding this going to make me play the game any different? Not really. Maybe it should, but people don't really look at the game at that level, and it's just really hard to read this. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's just very difficult to read this, which it would be a lot nicer if Dota could phrase this in a way that was more understandable, which was brought to my attention by a coworker of mine. So like, yeah, it's just a bit hard to read, which I don't know, it just makes it not fun to read. Now, this is a huge change. A lot of you guys who don't play Captain's Mode, you might not understand what this really means, and it's a big deal. Like, this is a big deal. A big deal. The Captain's Mode now has ban counts per phase changed from 3-2-1 to 4-1. So now, first phase bans, there's 4 heroes, and second phase bans, there's only 1. This is huge in my opinion. Like, it literally changes a lot of how drafting is going to go within these first 2 phases, especially because, I mean, there's so many examples. Like, I've stopped playing a lot of Captain's Mode as of late, as I've played less and less, like, super competitive Dota. But, man, if I was still playing competitive Dota and had to relearn all of the drafting meta because of this change, I would freak out. Like, it would literally scare me. I think. Maybe I'm overestimating this, but like, what you need to think about is you have 2 picks in the first phase, right? So like, you pick 2 heroes. I'm ignoring the first phase bans right now, which is significant that it's 4. It's going to let you ban a lot more meta heroes now and you know, just prevent certain meta picks, which definitely matters right off the bat. But then the fact that you only get 1 ban in the second phase matters a ton. I actually wouldn't have been surprised if they left this at 2. They did nerf it to 1 though. And the reason is because often you would pick a hero, let's say like for whatever reason you didn't want the enemy team to pick like 2 of these hard carries that you think synergize with their first 2 heroes. You'd ban them out. Like, this double ban is a big deal. It really opens up certain heroes because what I've noticed is that a lot of heroes in Dota have like 2 hard counters, or there's like, I don't want to go into this too into depth within this video. You should just pay attention to in Captain's Mode drafting, like how it changes the second phase ban, because it really is going to change things a lot. All right, so now the Radiant Ancient creeps are easier to stack. Just look at that in game. Tier 1 neutral drops are now 14%, so just more likely to get tier 1 items. Fountain attack range does more damage, so don't go in the fountain. And then the neutral creep Frost Armor, this is the best neutral creep in the early game that didn't have max level requirement. So it was like Dooms were taking this and Chans would take this a lot, because it had a low level requirement, especially Doom in particular, and use it because it was just kind of broken. Still is very strong. I still expect them to use it, but only 5 armor now, and the slower percentage was reduced, which isn't too clear, but that's what it is. And then Illusion Runes, this is a fascinating change. Really, really cool, guys. What you need to know about this is that the Illusion Rune now is similar to Manta, which means that it's harder to predict which one you are coming out of the Illusion Rune. And the coolest thing about it is it's a Dispel and a Dodge now. So if you pick up an Illusion Rune and you are Poison Touch, or you are Quap Daggered, or you are Poisonous Geld, or any of the purchasable spells in Dota, it dispels you, which is huge. It literally opens you up to some really cool outplays, and you can Manta Dodge. So I'm just gonna wait for the clip where some support Manta Dodges, I don't know, like some crazy spell, or like some core Manta Dodges, oh, I don't know, Laguna Blade, by picking up an Illusion Rune. That's gonna be so funny. But now let's get into the item changes. The brooch loses some mana. People are still gonna use it because the movement speed was really the important part here. 25 movement speed early game, big deal. Iron Talon works on Ancients, huge. Allowing certain heroes just to rip through Ancients in the early game is massive. This is a massive buff to Iron Talon, definitely gonna be picked up a lot more. Poor Man's Shield, 1 more agility. I already felt like this item was pretty okay, but yeah, definitely pick it up, even on supports. The agility is good. Philosopher's Stone, yep, definitely think this item was quite bad. I don't think the 60 GPM justified it very much. So yeah, I think this makes sense. Grow Bow, 5 more attack speed. Okay, definitely not a useful item on the majority of heroes, so it would make sense. A buff to Viper, buff to Drow, Storm, a couple of these heroes. Nether Shaw, magic resist up to 25%, definitely notable. You can pick this up on heroes like Centaur and Pudge and really abuse that fact. Spiner Leg's turn rate increased from 50%, and the passive movement speed increase was also up. I don't know why. Like, why is this item getting buffed? Am I crazy? Like, pretty sure this item was pretty good. I feel like Spider Legs was one of the better jungle items, but alright. I mean, sure. Repair Kit, 3 more HP regen. Crazy. This item gets 20 HP regen. You just put it on like some frontliner. Like Centaur comes to mind for me. It's like if you're sieging a tower, you like throw this on Centaur. It just has 20 more HP regen. That's crazy. Enchanter Quiver, I actually want to talk about this item quick. I think you should be picking it up on supports more than you would think, even melee cores. Like, keep it in mind, this works on melee cores, the damage, right? As far as I'm concerned, the damage works on melee cores, and because of that, you still have this 300 damage nuke on a 6-second cooldown, which is really strong. That's really, really strong. Even if you're like some CM and you know you're chilling in the back, like, why not have an extra 300 damage nuke you can yeet from 400 range? It seems very strong to me on a 6-second cooldown. I would just keep this item in mind. I think it's underrated, and now that it's gotten buffed to 2 less seconds, look out for this item. I think it's stronger than people believe. Havoc Hammer, knockback area increased. Okay, slow now affects attack speed, so basically Havoc Hammer is quite a bit stronger because it says it slows them by 50% for 3 seconds. Does that mean it also slows the attack speed by 50%? Because then that would make it incredibly strong. It doesn't clarify yet though, so I can't tell you guys. Guess we'll have to see. Flicker cooldown reduced, and the range was reduced. This means you won't get cucked as hard if you get put out of position by it, and you can use it more, so I think that's a buff to the item. Leveler, 10 more attack speed, 0.25 more spell immunity on Minotaur Horn, sure. 200 more health on Shaco. Okay, I felt like this item was already good, but sure, even 2, you know, that's a lot more health. 10 mana regen on Seer Stone, whatever. These are tier 5 items. They're irrelevant. I kind of mean that though. Like, I mean, sure, that's great. Like, 10 mana regen definitely is good on certain heroes. Like, sure. I'm not even going to read the rest of the items. I personally still feel like tier 5 items should be minute 50. I think all of them should be nerfed, and they should be at minute 50, personally. Which might sound crazy, but I've gotten to use these items once in, like, what, 4 months? Maybe it's just because I don't draw out games, but whatever. Town Portal Scroll, 90 gold now. Wow. What I want to say about this is I think Dota or Ice Frog, and this is probably not how a lot of people saw this, but this is how I see it, is they are trying to make dying early game a much bigger deal, because that's what this really nerfs. Like, mid game, okay, 90 gold, like, it hurts. It's not the end of the world, though. Early game, though, that 40 gold could mean that you can't TP back to lane, right? You don't have enough gold to TP back to lane if you die. And in the early game, 40 gold is a lot. It's that extra branch, Comida 1, it's extra tangos, almost an extra mango, right? Like, this matters a lot. So dying in the early game, they made it worse with the respawner times last patch, and now they're making it even worse with TPs being more expensive. Like, that's how I see it. So don't die in the early game. Kind of bad now. Boots of Travel no longer has an active. It upgrades Town Portal Scroll. It makes the cooldown 40 seconds and it allows it to target units, so it's kind of just like old bots with TP scroll, and it does not consume or charge, so it helps you save gold long term. So you're still gonna have to be buying this on like Tinker, obviously. You just don't have that double TP now, which is massive. Like, I think that's what this is doing. You don't have the double TP now. It's a big nerf to heroes that would buy it, like Skywrath Mage would be buying this for that reason. You could kind of buy it on a lot of like low mana heroes or low mana pool heroes. Even in the mid-late game, if you just have that extra slot, you pick it up, TP back. So yeah, pretty big nerf to bots for sure. I don't think this is nearly as good as the other one. They did buff the movement speed, which makes sense to me because it's essentially, I don't think it's nearly as good as the other bots, so gotta buff it somehow. Otherwise, this item's pretty irrelevant in my opinion then. Javelin, this is a nerf to Pango and Wind Ranger in particular. They did buff Wind Ranger, which we'll get to, which I think is why they buff Wind Ranger, because of this Javelin nerf. Otherwise, you kind of would smash a hero that didn't need to get smashed, but this is definitely a Pango-based nerf, in my opinion. You know, other heroes would buy Javelin, but not to the extent of Pango, and Pango is one of the most picked heroes of the patch, of the tournament especially. Sorry, I should specify of the tournament. So yeah, this hurts him. Mjolnir, 10 less attack speed. I think this was one of the best items, or DPS items in Dota. Pretty versatile. It could be used on a lot of heroes, so sure, makes sense. Orb of Venom, thank God they did this. Holy guys, if I see another ranged hero buy Orb of Venom, I'm actually gonna blow my mind off. I had a student tell me that like their friend likes, I'm trying to remember who it was, but like, they liked the Orb of Venom on AA. Like, dude, it's so bad. Why did you think this was good? It does not give you a lot of damage. It's 300 gold. You know what 300 gold is? It's 2 salves and like 2 branches. All right, not exactly. That's a bit too expensive, but like, you get the point, right? Why? You can't just buy an Orb of Venom on some ranged hero when it doesn't slow. The benefit of this item is that it lets you track people down, which it still does. So I still think we're going to see this item on melee heroes. So if you're buying it in the past, I would say continue to buy it on melee heroes. Just please don't buy this on ranged heroes. They made it even worse now. Peace. Ring of Regen, even less gold now, so this is a even better item to buy in the laning stage casually. Headdress, this is where things get interesting. Headdress, all these items no longer give stats. Bassy, Headdress, Buckler, no stats. They're all much cheaper as well. I think they all cost, what, 375? Yeah, so they all cost 375 now. However, they don't give any stats, right? But all their actives got buffed. So I'm pretty sure we're still going to be seeing people buy these items. Most importantly, I'm pretty certain we're still going to be seeing headdresses. 2.5 regen in lane is insane. It's insane. Like, that's still a ton of HP regen. The funny thing is you can buy it. You can literally start your lane with a ring of regen. Don't do this, guys. Please don't do this, but I'm just saying it. You can start the lane with a ring of regen and a headdress. It's pretty cool. Don't do that, though. And then Sage's Mask. This item is crazy. It's gonna buff so much, guys, so much. This item used to be like 0.5 mana regen for like 325 gold. Now it's 1 mana regen for 225. I think they're really trying to incentivize buying this item casually. Like, you can just casually buy a Sage's Mask and it's definitely value now. Like, I'm gonna consider buying these on like Storm. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm playing Storm and I wanna go work it, I'm gonna buy 2 Sage's Mask, like early on into the game. Because it's 2 mana regen for 450 gold. That's so good. So I just keep that in mind. And also, something to note is that Buckler does not work on creeps anymore. This is kind of the way of them preventing it from being broken, because if it still worked on creeps and they made it 375 gold, you'd have to buy this in every dual lane, like 100%, because it just lets you have this insane creep advantage at all times. But it no longer works on creeps anymore. It only works on heroes and player units. Still strong though, 2.5 regen. I would not be shocked if we see lanes come, just you walk into a lane with a headdress and a buckler, like you have 2.5 armor and 2.5 HP regen. Like, I don't know, man, that's pretty strong. Vlad's, a little bit less stats, not really though, like this item's still really good, so not much of a nerf to Vlad's, to be honest. I would still buy Vlad's if you bought Vlad's. Veil, okay, a little bit more mana regen. Bloodthorn no longer has a Crystallis, which is a massive nerf to Bloodthorn in my opinion. Also, overall, they nerfed Crystallis, which we'll get into. But yeah, I think this is a pretty big nerf to Bloodthorn. Its active is still the same though, which you should note. Battle Fury is now built out of these items, which is weird. It's a bit better build up, as far as I'm concerned. I think it's the same cost. I believe it's the same cost. Don't quote me on that. I actually don't remember the old cost of Battle Fury, so I don't know if it's the exact same. They didn't specify in the notes either, so I'm gonna assume it's the same gold. Oh, okay, I see what they did. Wow, okay. This makes sense, I just figured it out. But they made the Broadsword 200 less gold, which makes it the same as the Battle Fury, I believe. Because Demon Edge is 2400, Mithril Hammer is 1600. I think it's the same. I could be crazy. Crystallis, yeah, this item is not nearly as good because you didn't want to rely on crit to deal damage, you just wanted the 45 damage. That was the more important part, so they nerfed it back. Rest in peace. You were good while you lasted, but pretty sure this is going to make this item not irrelevant, but much less relevant. I'm pretty sure of that. Vanguard, I like this change a lot. Now, it has no recipe, it's just a Ring of Health and Vitality Booster, which makes it a lot better on heroes rushing in the early game. The Bristlebacks, the Axes, the Centaurs. And you don't have to buy this annoying 200 gold recipe that kind of cucked it a bit. But you still, most importantly, have to pay the extra 200 gold for Crimson Guard and Abyssal Blade, so I really like this. It just makes Vanguard a more viable item and doesn't make Crimson or Abyssal stronger because they didn't need to be stronger. Eagle Song is now 200 less gold. The agility on Butterfly, however, was reduced by 5 to compensate for that, which is, I don't know if I want to make that trade, but sure. And then most importantly, E-Blade, now 50% less damage based on your primary attribute, which feels like a massive nerf to the main hero that would buy this in Dota, which is Morphling, who relied on his primary attribute to deal damage. So this feels like a huge Morphling nerf, pushing Morphling more towards the Manta Dragonlance sort of playstyle, less E-Blade, because now you're not going to one-shot people nearly as much. It's not even, it's quite a big nerf. Kaya Sanj, still a useless item. I'm not going to talk about it. If you want to debate me on that, fine, but I still think these items are pretty terrible on almost every hero in Dota, so please don't buy them. Really weird nerf on Nullifier. No longer mutes enemies, which is preventing them from using items. It now dispels the target. Now, I'm not going to be doing testing. It may, I don't know if you'll purchase it, because the cool thing is, Shadow Demon ult is the same interaction as this new Nullifier, where it always dispels you, right? And how Shadow Demon ulti works is it's not dispellable, and because of that, right, because Shadow Demon ulti is not dispellable, if you Yules while you're Shadow Demon ulti, it will kick you out of the Yules. So I'm pretty sure you can dispel Nullifier though, which means Lotus Orb and Yules won't get purged, and you can actually purge Nullifier, which makes it far weaker and not a counter to these items anymore. It's also not a counter to BKB anymore. It's not a counter to Force Staff nearly as much. It is, which I'll get into in a second, but not nearly as much. But they also made the duration far less, 1 second less. The slow is a bit worse. It lasts for a tiny bit longer, but it's for much less, which I'm sure is not good. The cooldown is 2 seconds less, which is notable. The cast range is further, which is notable. More armor and 15 more damage, which is cool, right? So they understand that the Dispel is clearly far better than this, because it also completely nullifies, get it? The Bloodthorn Nullifier combo, right? Which is huge in the late game. It was basically a staple of the late game on a lot of heroes. Like, my Nature's Prophet, GG man. Now I have to play this hero as like some sort of satanic Daedalus hero, because I can't Arcane Nullifier you, which really kind of stinks actually. It's a big deal. It really feels like a nerf to a lot of these heroes that relied on it, or love to use it late game, even like Ricky, because I've been coaching a Ricky player, and this is like a big deal to Ricky, right? So I'm just curious to see how this plays out. Not necessarily a huge fan, but it does dispel Force Staff, so apparently Force Staff, the push can be cancelled. You can just get stopped in place, which is okay. However, the cast range is now 200 less, which is huge, because it's gonna put supports out of position. Now you can use it on enemies from further away, which, okay, sure, sure. But on teammates, it's going to make you go out of position as a support, which is going to get you killed from time to time. Actually, quite often, 200 range is a lot. Think about it. That's Aether Lens range. That's huge. So, I don't know. I don't like this change. I don't feel like this had to be nerfed. I do think these items were two of the best items in Dota, and I still do, right? I mentioned this earlier. I still do. I think Force Staff and Glimmer Cape are still some of the best items in Dota. But, yeah, are you going to buy them as much? Yes, but it's going to get you killed sometimes. Observer Words nerf vision by 200, okay. 300 gold less for Holy Locket, makes sense, the item is kind of trash. Less gold bounty by quite a bit, 50 less at all levels for Necromonicon, 50 less recipe. Aeon Disc, 10 less seconds of cooldown, really cool change to Silver Edge. Debuff now reduces regen and heals by 50%, which means this item is just now a counter to a lot of these type of heroes, such as, I guess, a lot of lifesteal, right? It just hardcore counters a lot of lifesteal heroes. Obviously, heroes that will naturally come to mind are the Huskars. I mean, he can purge it, right? If he uses his ulti, he'll purge it, the debuff, but it counters, you know, the Centaurs that have pipes and all this HP regen, and, you know, Bristlebacks and Marses that have all this HP regen and the passives, right? It's a huge buff to Silver Edge, which I think makes sense because this item was quite irrelevant on the majority of heroes, unless it was a very specific matchup, so it definitely makes Silver Edge a more common item and an option for right clickers that isn't Spirit Vessel, which is cool. Big buff to Clarity in my opinion. It lasts for 20 less seconds, but you get 1.5 more mana regen per second, which is great because it's gonna let you be a lot more active a lot more often, right? I would much rather have less, even if it made it less total mana, which I'm not gonna do the math. You guys can do that math if you want to. It's really, I'm sure it's about the same. But basically, like, you're gonna have more mana quicker. Also in the laning stage, when it gets canceled a lot, you're gonna be able to get more of it off, right? Or like a higher percentage of mana off, which is great. Like, I think this is a massive buff to Clarity, which I like because I like Clarities and I like spamming Clarities. Also infused Raindrops, which is an item I like. You now get 0.15 more mana regen. They're like buffing all these mana regen items. They buff Clarity, they buff Raindrops, they buff Bottle, they buff Sage's Mask. They buffed this Medallion now too, which gives more mana regen too. Solar Crest as well. They buff Void Stone. It's like the mana regen patch. And also 0.5 more health to Ring of Health, making Battle Fury also a better item, and all these Vanguards a better item. Makes Hood a better item, which is interesting because this was already a very strong item as is. So definitely a pretty big Hood buff. Also, Hood is much cheaper now too, right? Because of the headdress change. So Hood is a bit cheaper. So yeah, definitely be buying Hood. It doesn't give you the stats, but that's fine. If you have a wand and a Hood, you're still gonna be unbelievably tanky. Like plus Bracer, like this 3-item combo, you are unbelievably tanky on any hero. And yep, still buy Pipe, guys. Nerfed? Not really. Not really, actually. Yeah, like sure you don't get the 3 stats, but you're gonna have a wand, you're gonna, as I said, you're gonna have a wand, you're gonna have a Bracer, you're still gonna have all these stats, you're still gonna have a Pipe, you're gonna be insanely tanky. Like, you're still buying this item, for sure. Like, do not stop buying Pipe, please. Lotus Orb, 75 more mana, sure, kind of weird, but sure. Helm of the Iron Will, 1.5 more regen for, I think they should have just left the costs the same and made this item to 5 regen, because it was quite bad. Like, you didn't want to buy this item casually over a Ring of Regen, and I still don't. You might actually consider it over a Ring of Regen now. 5 armor is a lot. The problem is it's quite a bit more gold, right? It's 100 more gold. So the question is, do you want 1.5 less regen for 5 armor? And it's also like, oh, what am I buying? Like, what item am I buying? That's like one of the issues with this item. It's like, are you buying a Crimson? Am I buying an Armlet? So it's good for the heroes that are buying Armlet, like that's for sure, because it's quite a bit more mana. I'll trade 25 gold for that much HP regen, sure. Ring of Tarask, 100 less gold, which makes sense, and 1 full HP, which is great because this item was quite awful. It was just, it didn't, like, unless you were buying a heart, you're not gonna buy this casually. Now you maybe buy it casually. 150 health and 4.5 HP regen, like that's pretty good. That's not bad. It just doesn't really build into anything useful. Like maybe Holy Locket. Doesn't this make Holy Locket much cheaper, right? Because isn't this cheaper too? Maybe Holy Locket's like a fairly viable item on certain mech heroes now. Interesting. And Tranquil Boots, HP regen reduced by 16 to 14. All right, that's fair. I mean, Tranquils are very popular and strong, so okay. Abaddon, a relevant change. Alchemist, 0.3. 0.3 agility gain to Alchemist. That's good. Helps us right click. 5 movement speed for Arc Warden. Movement speed changes are always a buff, like a pretty notable one too. It will save you in situations that you don't even realize. Nerf to Batrider, pretty hard one too, which surprises me, sort of. I felt like this hero was still being picked and good, but I didn't think it would continue to get nerfed. I felt like it was in an alright spot. Could be wrong about that though. But 4 less movement speed at max on Firefly is massive, so. Also, Flame Break, once again, nerf to Flame Break, so probably not going to see much support Batrider if I had to guess. Don't quote me on that though. Beastmaster, 10 more attack speed. Axes are now magical damage, which I think is good. It makes the Ags a bit better. If I had to note something, this is like trying to buff the Ags, I think. But they don't pierce spell immunity, which is like not good. So I don't know what to say about this. I think the attack speed's great, that's all. Bloodseeker, the heal has been nerfed in the early levels, which is you know, okay, I think Bloodseeker is still a very strong laner. The Bounty Hunter has a new scepter which just applies Janata to Shuriken Toss, so it makes the Shuriken Toss crit. It gives you a lot more cast range and lowers the cooldown to 6. But the most notable change that I want to point out about Bounty is not this axe that I don't think you should be buying. Please, it seems like a meme to me, just buy a BKB. But his Shuriken Toss is now 15 less mana at level 1, which is one of the highest level 1 damage spells in Dota. It's 150 damage on an 8-second cooldown, which is insane for 120 mana. So buy mangoes. I've been saying this for a long time now, but buy mangoes on Bounty. Skip your invis. Like, don't play this hero like an invis hero. Take your Q, take your W, and use them in combination to harass people. I think that's your best bet on Bounty right now. I think he might become more popular as an offlaner. Like, I think this hero is slightly underrated, especially in pubs, so keep him in mind. Brewmaster, a buff to the Fire Bruling and the Permanent Immolation. I don't even know. Dude, who plays this hero? If you play Brood, like, I actually don't know what world you're from. You're so weird. Broodmother, level 10 talent, 50 more HP, okay. Phantasm, scales down in cooldown. It's a good, nice quality of life change, but I don't think this hero is viable. I have mixed feelings about CK, because sometimes it, like, crushes you, and you're like, what? This hero's a thing? But nah, I don't know. I'm not a huge CK fan. I don't think you should play it. Death Pact no longer has a neutral level requirement. Very cool, because now you can eat big creeps and get their XP, which is huge. Definitely a big deal for Clinks. The question is, can you get to the big camp? Maybe you'll play him as a position 4 hero so that you can be conveniently next to the big camp. I'm kind of kidding. I know that's like a thing that people throw around. Like, there are Clinks 4 players, but probably not a good idea. Also, his ultimate got buffed. Crystal Maiden, like, what a joke. What kind of change is this? Her Ags, which, what? You don't even have a GPM to get all this gold. Like, how are you going to farm an Ags and a BKB? Which, you need a BKB to make the Ags good, basically, right? Like, sure, you could be really good at positioning or get lucky, but nah, man. Like, this is so dumb. CM needed a buff. Like, where's her buff, man? 250 movement speed is what surges now, not percentage movement, which makes it worse later on, I believe, but much better early. It's probably like 100 more movement speed earlier on, but like 100 less later, so that's what I have to say. And they also nerfed the cooldown by 3 seconds at max, but it still goes down to 10, so not too big of a deal. You're still going to be maxing this spell out, I believe. Actually, I'm personally a fan of the vacuum max earlier on, and but it still goes down in cooldown, and it goes up in duration. Nah, you have to max surge. GG, you have to. And now at level 10, you don't get 90 damage, which I actually think was a pretty good talent. Now it's 125 ion shell radius, which is cool. It makes it a lot easier to use, a lot harder to run away from. So, I mean, sure, I don't know though. It feels a bit weird to like take that. Not sold. I don't think this makes Darkseer much better. Dazzle, rework Scepter. When you cast an ability, you automatically launch an attack on 8 enemy units. So now you get like phase shift attacks for casting spells. And they nerfed the level 10 talent, so they didn't want mid Dazzle to be too good. So I guess they think that this Axe is extremely good, so they're gonna nerf the level 10, but like, where are you gonna fit an Axe into Dazzle's kit? Like, are you just, how did, no. Death Prophet, Exorcism, 20% movement speed increase. Pretty insane. That is not an Axe upgrade, that is just flat, which is pretty crazy to me. I feel like this is a massive buff on a hero that was already good and becoming more popular. I personally think this hero, you should be playing it now. I'm pretty convinced it's one of the best heroes in Dota. Don't quote me on that. No, do quote me on that. I'm pretty certain Death Prophet is like very good. Now you get 20% movement speed. So if you have 400 movement speed, you get what? How much more is that? Oh god, I required myself to do math. Like 80 or something, right? Like, this is pretty crazy. I don't think this hero needed a buff, and it got a buff. Now it just zooms when it has its ulti going, which is a big deal because it's gonna make your early game rotations much better. It's gonna make you harder to track down, but easier to track other people down. Like 20, that's really good. 5 more movement speed for DK, great, always good. Attack animation on Drow Ranger. This doesn't mean that the hero attacks faster. It just means that if you're a noob and you don't animation cancel, or does it give you more attack speed? Oh god, now I'm getting confused. Pretty sure it just means that. Oh, but it's not backswing. Dude, what? Is this like an attack speed buff? Like, I don't know. Someone can explain that to me. Earth Spirit is now a mid laner, guys. Keep this in mind. Gonna be making a video probably tomorrow on what I think should be played, like the new best heroes of the patch. I believe I'm gonna be doing that. I'm 100% certain this hero is gonna be on the list. I'll be talking about item builds and skill builds for it as well. Keep this in your lookout. I believe this is one of the better mid laners. Now, I'm serious. I actually think Earth Spirit is a very legit mid laner. You will be seeing Earth Spirit mid, most likely in the pro scene, and definitely in high MMR pubs. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. You're going to be seeing crit played a ton. You're going to see a lot of people be playing this. 0.9 more agility gain per level. Insane. That's almost another full agility per level, which is quite strong, right? You're just going to have 10 more attack speed, 10 more agility, or like +1 armor at level 10, which is good, right? That helps the hero. That's solid. And then you get your level 10 talent is 15 more damage, which works well with the new agility attack speed you're going to be getting. And they also give you the option to kind of like use this level 10 talent for a spirit in 2 different directions. But if you're mid, you're going to take the damage, which I think is what this hero is most like. It's still a good 4. It's gotten some buffs to make it a 4, but overall, definitely keep your eye out for a spirit mid. Ember Spirit got a major Searing Chains buff, making it 30 less mana at level 1 and 3-second less cooldown, right? 3-second less cooldown at level 1 as well. So this makes it a much better level 1 spell. Like for laning, you can actually consider using this now quite often. Maybe we'll even be seeing a lot more of the Slight Chains build because of this, or maybe we'll even be seeing some of the Flame Guard Searing Chains max that we saw in the past. Probably not though, only because like, I think the best build on this hero by far is Flame Guard Slight, and I still think it is, but who knows, I could be wrong. Enchantress Sprank. Cool, man. I'm really glad that the only thing that was changed was Sprank. And Ingba, this gotta be one of the biggest buffs for the early game. 3 more intelligence, which helps with Eidolon spawning. Also, this hero's int, so it's 3 damage. It's pretty good. Like, sure, you take those. And then at level 1 on Black Hole, you have double the damage, right? So you go from, right, 200 damage on Black Hole to now 400. Which is huge. That's easily going to be the difference in a large amount of cases of getting a killer now, for sure. It's also 50 more damage at all levels, which is great, right? That's good, but it's most notable at level 1. Gonna let you solo kill people a lot more. So pretty big buff to this hero. Also, this talent change is quite notable. Now, the question is, are you gonna take this over 15% cooldown reduction? I would say probably not. However, if you get to level 25, which sounds pretty funny, but if you get to level 25 and you have Malefice, now I'm gonna do the math for you guys because I'm a nice guy. But that means with this talent, each one of your ticks does 205 damage, and you have 8 ticks, which makes Malefice a 1600 damage nuke at level 25. The problem is that means you are not taking 50% cooldown reduction, which is a hard bargain. It is a hard bargain. So, do I think this is realistic? Probably not, but it is cool nonetheless. Grimstroke, just a buff to the value point of Phantom's Embrace, which is good because it was a value point spell for the most part. And the talent tree is also buffed a little bit. Now, this hero had an abysmal win rate in pubs, as far as I'm concerned. I think it was one of the lowest in Dota, like a bottom 5 hero actually. Still being picked in the pro scene though to success. I'm pretty sure this hero was doing quite well in the pro scene. So, will it continue to be picked? Yes, I think this hero is a little bit better now. Gyrocopter, one of the coolest changes of the patch is definitely Gyro. A lot of big deal changes here. Attack backswing reduced, which, once again, basically what would happen with Gyro is every time you attacked, you'd stand still for a long period of time. But if you were good at Gyro or you understood this, you would just cancel the backswing because you can cancel backswing by moving or just like attacking something, but it's usually moving. So like, you just canceled backswing. It wasn't a big deal, but this makes it much better for noobs. So this is like noob friendly. And then strength gain increased, which is good because Gyro needs to be tanky. It's not by a lot, but sure, you know, the buff's a buff. Flat cannon attack count. This is where things get spicy. You have 1 less attack at all levels, which makes it quite a bit worse at level 1 because then it's obviously, what, like 33% change? Is that how that works? But the cool thing is it's half of the cooldown now. The duration is less, but that doesn't really matter. You're going to spam this anyway, so that doesn't really matter. But the cooldown is half now, which is very cool. So what we're going to be seeing most likely is a Rocket Barrage and Flat Cannon max as we saw in the past. Actually, that's kind of what Gyro has been for the longest of time now. It will continue to be that way. And you will now be maxing Flat Cannon and spamming this, especially during the laning stage. Will you max it out is the question. Probably not. You're probably still going to be maxing your Q. However, it is sort of an option to like, you'll probably max the E second. And you're going to be using this just to flash farm, which is what you did in the past. But Gyro for a while did not have a great way to flash farm. This helps you take more stacks again, which is good because stacking has been meta for a bit now, ever since jungle item, so pretty cool. However, your ultimate, now the second missile does 100 more damage at level 1, but it's the second one, right? So it's pretty hard to hit the second one. It's possible, hard though. So it's not as big of a buff as you might think in terms of damage because it is the second missile. And the ultimate is now 90 seconds at all levels, which is awkward because your other spells are such low cooldowns, right? So you feel like you want to play high tempo, but then your ultimate's 90 seconds, which is kind of awkward. So like, that's a pretty big nerf, right? Because it throws off your ability to play high tempo, which was a strength of Gyro. So not too sure if this, as like when I saw the Flat Cannon, I'm like, wow, that's a huge buff. But then I saw the call down and I'm like, that's kind of rough. It like, kind of puts you in a weird timing where now I see Gyro as more of this like flash farmer again, less of this brawly. You can still be a mix, but not sure. Huskar, bit of a nerf to Berserker's Blood. Juggernaut has a new scepter that gives you a mini Omni Slash, which is okay. I think it's weird, like where do you fit it into your build type of thing, but it lets you like reset the fight and track people down who are getting away. So that's pretty strong. Keebler Light got a lot of talent changes. If you want to read them, you're kind of weird, but sure, go ahead. Level 10 talent gives you a bit more armor. You are obviously not going to take that over damage, because 40 damage is way too good on Kunkka, and a slight talent change at the other one. Legion Commander, some overwhelming odds changes, doesn't matter. Leshrac got agility and attack backswing, which is okay, not too big of a deal really. Definitely helps his laning stage a tiny bit with a bit more of attack speed, but not great. And then the Pulse Nova activation helps this hero have less mana problems later into the game. However, you should not be taking Pulse Nova at level 12 still. It still has double the mana per second, which means you should not be taking it. It's a little bit more understandable, but don't take it at level 12. Lina, attack point reduced and backswing reduced, sure. Lone Druid, the bear can be fast at level 10 if you wanted to. Luna got a buff to her strength and intelligence gains, however a nerf to her agility, so like I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Sorry, she got more strength, 3 more strength, 2 more intelligence, which is better for the early game, like the 60 more HP, great, but like less agility on Luna, like I don't know. Feral Impulse now gives you 1 more HP regen, most notably that's good for level 1 laning. That's great, and 4 more seconds of Shapeshift at all levels is huge. Huge. 4 seconds is game-changing for Lycan. It's gonna let you secure a full another kill in many situations, so definitely massive buff. Magnus, the Shockwave is more of a slow, and he got some talent buffs. Congrats. Cool thing for God's Rebuke, its Scepter was pretty impractical because it was like very awkward. I like what they did. It's not only a shorter cooldown when your ultimate's going now, it's just straight up shorter all the time. However, it's 2 seconds more, well, 2.1. So I think this makes a lot more sense because it makes it where you don't have to have your ultimate running. It's just kind of better overall. Medusa got a slight talent buff. Sure, the hero's still quite viable. Mirana, base damage increased by 2, Sacred Arrow damage up by 20 at level 1, and it scales up 20, 30, 40, 50. Backswing on Prophet, buffed a little bit. Don't think it matters too much. The biggest change to Prophet is this weird ultimate nerf. I mean, I'm calling it a nerf. I think this is a nerf. 25 seconds to your ulti is a huge deal. Huge. In the early game, the major benefit of the spell was how low of a cooldown it was. You could just keep using it and using it and using it. Even in the mid to late game, it lets you clear waves over and over again, stop pushes, defend towers all the time. 25 seconds is huge. Even though you get this weird change of +4, +5, +6 damage per unit killed for 50 seconds. A lot of people are going to see this and be like, oh my god, right-click Prophet, wow! But the problem is, you actually have to kill the units with your ulti. Do you understand that Prophet ulti doesn't kill a lot of the units? You're going to get like 20, 30 damage most of the time, which is okay. Like, that's okay. But do I trade that for 25 seconds? I don't think I want that. I consider this a nerf, especially if you're going like tank Prophet. You don't need the damage nearly as much. You're going to be buying treads, so it works with that. But like, I don't know. I'm curious to see how this works. Skeptical though. Night Stalker, a little bit more intelligence, more HP regen, that's fine. Movement speed, good. So yeah, pretty big Night Stalker buff. Ogre Magi has 1 less armor. Phoenix has a bit more HP regen and is just a overall better laner. Puck got less base damage. Pudge, what a joke of a change this is. Your Flesh Heap does not give HP regen anymore, so you can't be like a core because you needed it to be a core and lane, essentially. Now, you have to be a roamer, but like, why do you even want magic resist early on into the game with Flesh Heap? Now, I think you have to play this hero as some roamer, which is awkward. At like 1 HP regen is not going to change the fact that your hero still melts because it has no armor, and it's still slow. Bad. Pudge bad. Pugna, Nether Ward is now 0.6 mana drain at level 1, so it's just a bit better earlier on. Maybe you take a value point now? Kind of. Really cool changes to life drain. Huge fan of this. I really like what they did here. Like, I really like what they did here. I think it's super cool, and I think Pugna is going to be quite potent this patch for this reason. Not only did it get a slight buff to Nether Ward, but now life drain does less damage. It's old damage though. It's old damage. Except that at max. Now it's quite a bit worse at max. However, this makes Pugna a much better early game hero because it's only 25 less damage, which is what it was quite a few patches ago anyway, right? So it's still a lot of damage, 150, but it is 15 seconds less of cooldown, meaning in the early game fights, you can spam this spell. As is, on a 22-second cooldown, you'd walk up to people and harass them with it. It was like a harass tool. You didn't have to even kill them. It was a harass tool. But now, it's a farming tool because it's a 7-second cooldown, which lets you kill big creeps. So that's good, keeps up your tempo, and you can spam it in early game fights, which is great because Pugna wanted to be that way. Also, if you wanted the life drain damage to be high, you can buy an axe, and that's great. The break distance is a bit lower though, which definitely matters. I'm not sold on this Pugna, but it seems cool and potentially very strong. Quap Stagger is now 15% more of a slow at max, so maxing Shadow Strike is strong and a big buff to Quap. It's definitely like 15% more movement slow is going to get you 3, 4, 5 more auto attacks off, which is huge. And Sonic Wave, 10 seconds less of cooldown, lets Quap be higher tempo, great. Ricky, irrelevant. Rubik, more mana on his W, which hurts him in the lane. Sand King gets some slows on his Caustic Finale and is better at trading because Caustic Finale is now an attack speed slow. Also, your ultimate scales a little bit better, which makes sense because it was just really not that much better. It was unreliable. Shadow Demon's ultimate does 50 more damage at all levels, kind of a joke. Silencer is now better in ability draft because Glaives of Wisdom is now the intelligence steal, so you can actually steal intelligence if you get Glaives of Wisdom in ability draft. Very exciting. I don't know what else it does. If I'm missing something, you can let me know. Pounce, scepter distance is a bit lower. Okay, sure. Snapfire has an axe, which just lets you eat people and then spit them out to stun with, and it also leaves a glob on the ground that does damage. Kind of weird. Good utility in the late game, though, to save people who get jumped, so it's a bit niche, but, you know, sure, why not? Scatter Blast, worse in the laning stage. You're maxing it out, though, so does this hurt the spell? Of course. Makes it quite a bit worse in the laning stage. Overall, this hero is still good. Sniper, 4 more base damage, huge. However, Headshot was nerfed quite a bit. So what I'm seeing is you're going to be maxing Shrapnel on Sniper. Do not max Headshot. I would recommend, focusing more so on your Q and flash farming. Storm Spirit has 10 more attack speed, which makes him a lot better of a laner. Makes him much better at trading. Going to help him get a lot more First Bloods and more creeps in the laning state. Sven got movement speed, which is really good for a hero that gets kited. Techi's got some, changes that don't matter. Templar is irrelevant. TB, a lot of pretty good talent buffs, so overall, he scales much better. Tide Hunter got 3 strength, which is crazy to me. I think Tide was a good hero, underrated personally. I think it can be used very effectively in certain team comps. But 3 more strength, which is 3 damage and 60 HP. Very cool. And HP regen. Tinker, some talent buffs, sure. Tiny got a better back attack swing, but once again, you could cancel it, so if you're good, it didn't really matter. And now Treant is tankier because he regens more in the lane. Tusk got more movement speed, his Ice Shards do a little bit more damage. Undying's Tombstone Zombies do more damage. Ursa Fury Swipes are better, actually quite a bit better. I think this is a massive buff to Ursa overall, so I think this hero is stronger, I would say. It makes it a much, much better laner in general. However, your Overpower, which gives you more attack, is now 1 less attack at all levels. However, the cooldown goes all the way down to 7 at max, which makes it quite a bit better for like the mid game and taking Roche. I think overall, it's better for Roshing. And in mid-game fights, not sold on it though, because that extra attack, that last attack, like bonus attack, could secure you a kill. Also considering now that Enrage, well, first off, Overpower is less mana at level 1, which helps it be a better laning spell. But Enrage is no longer a damage spell, it's just better for giving you status resist and makes you much tankier. Which is cool because you're going to kite it a lot less, it's hard to stun and kite Ursa during Enrage. And the cooldown was once again reduced, the duration is also increased at all levels. Sorry, not at all levels, it scales up. So overall, Enrage is just going to be used to prevent yourself from getting kited and staying on top of targets that you're trying to kill. So cool changes to Ursa overall. Vengeful Spirit got increased cast range on his stun, which is very, very useful, and a rescaled magic missile, which doesn't change too much. Viper Strike is 20 more damage at all levels. Visage got 10 more attack speed, and his W is stronger. Void Spirit got an axe that I think is potentially broken, because yes, this is a hero you definitely can buy an axe on, right? Like, I could easily see this hero picking up an axe, like 3rd item. And the reason is it gives you Resonant Pulse, 2 charges, which is your E, the thing that like shot out and gave you physical resistance. And the cool thing about this is not only does it give you 2 charges, but it also silences enemies for 2 seconds, which in total means you can silence people for 4 seconds. In fact, you don't have to silence them, like, you don't have to stack it, so you can technically silence people for like 5 seconds who have bad cast times or, like need to get off certain channeled spells, which is very, very awkward. And also, this spell has a talent that gives it 100 more damage, meaning this is like a huge AoE nuke that can gigaburst people. So, do I think this is viable? 100%. I think it's going to make it You can farm really fast, kill waves really quickly, which you already could, but even more now, and you do a ton of AoE damage as well as silence. Warlock got a fairly irrelevant buff, which is kind of weird. I thought he'd get buffed more. Weaver got more intelligence, which is great, more intelligence gain, and more mana regen, making him more of a spammy hero in the early game. And his Sakuchi is better at max by a lot. 55 more movement speed, which is great. Wind Ranger got a lot more intelligence, which makes sense because of the Javelin nerf. Winter Wyvern's Cold Embrace is irrelevant. Paralyzing Cask is now less mana at level 1, which makes him a much better laner. Also, his Scepter no longer bounces, which I didn't know I had a bounce limit, but sure. But main thing, he's a better laner. Use your Q more in lane is what I'd say. Buy mangoes, spam the spell, use it for trading. If you're not doing that, like, you basically should be running out of mana very early on as Witch Doctor now, because you should just be yeeting these things over and over and over again to trade. Wraith King, apparently this hero had damage innate. I didn't even know that this spell gave you damage, but sure it does. It gives you 24 bonus damage, which is cool. I actually didn't know. But yeah, you have lifesteal, and apparently now you also get a multiplier on these stats. So the 24 damage is now 36, and the lifesteal is now 30, which is cool, like when you haven't maxed out. So yeah, pretty interesting changes to the Wraith King, making him a bit more selfish, which is good because you didn't pick those spells to buff your teammates really anyway. But yeah, apparently this gives you bonus damage. Oh, it's the only melee heroes. Don't you just pick Meepo now? Don't you just like pick Meepo with the Wraith King? And you have this Meepo who has like technically plus what? What is that? Plus 92 damage? Am I doing that wrong? 94 damage? 96 damage? Right? Isn't that really strong? I don't know. I'm going to try that out. And finally, last but not least, holy, this video was like 35 to 40 minutes. I apologize. I was totally wrong about, oh my, I was totally wrong about the duration of this video. But Zeus, 5 more movement speed and attack point improved, which makes him better earlier on. And movement speed is always welcomed on heroes that need to position well. So thank you guys for watching. There's going to be a video on builds tomorrow, so please keep your eye out for that and like it when it comes out and blow it up. Blow up this video as well. Thank you for staying all the way through if you did, or if you skipped to the end, hi, welcome to the end of the video. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and peace. So just want to mention, I recorded a couple of really cool live games, something I don't do on YouTube almost ever, where I play a game and go over my in-game thoughts, like literally what I'm thinking on the spot. I did this, I think 3 to 4 times now, and they're all going to be uploaded to the gameleap website. It's also on discount, 50% off in the link down below. Like, I'm serious, it's 50% off. It's $3 a month if you sign up now. Binge Dota, that's all it takes. Please click the link down below and check out the content I'm making. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you there.